It's some fancy weird music. Try some different one. This is like the free YouTube music, so maybe I can actually have some music without me getting in trouble. Every time I have music, I get dinged for it. The goal here with the Ask Me Just About Anything stuff is that someday I'll be able to make it into a podcast. So if you're wondering why I'm trying to make it more visually interesting or audibly interesting. URL melt, not interested. Come on, just give me some like... No, I mean, that one's not too bad. I just don't know. How about we do R&B? Is there R&B? I don't know what this stuff is. You want to try it? You guys want to look? Want to help me find it? I don't know, man. They're going around the right direction though, so I definitely want to help them out with this stuff. If you want free music, you have to click on the filter. You can do genre. I want hip hop and rap, which is where all the chill up is. Ooh, what's this? I don't know what's this about. That's not hip hop and rap. You have to trust people to put their own like things on here, you know, their own like genres. It's just not a thing. You're not gonna be able to trust people with their own categorizations. How is this genre hip hop? This is not Brooklyn and the Bridge. No. Okay, there's some rap. All right, that's definitely rap. Let's do calm. We want to do mood calm. How about that? But not too calm. Not too calm. I want it calm, but not too calm. All right, that's good. Let's go with that. All right. This is supposed to be AMA. Ask me just about anything. And that's what we're gonna do. Give me 1 second here. There's the buffer to clear. Sup, Rob? All right, so I'm gonna leave the screen up. So just be aware, anything that you type in here, what's your WAN IP address? Viable. See, why can't we stay like that? Because I'm too much of a mean guy. The probably one of my oldest remaining stream members still here. He comes and goes because I yell at him all the time and insult him. I'm not promising you I'm not going to insult you today. How do you open the current page in Lynx in Firefox? I've seen you do it, I think. How do I open the current page in Firefox? How do I open the current page in Firefox? Oh. I know what you're talking about. Okay. All right. There's lots in the Discord too. So when we get going, oh my God, people, these things are gonna actually like scroll off. So just I'm just gonna warn you right now. You might have to ask your question again, and I want to get to some of the questions in the AMA. There's actually a really important question about motivation in the AMA channel on Discord. So I definitely want to get to that. If I don't get to your question, please just answer in there. I have a feeling AMA is going to become... We're going to be here for 2 hours. I may or may not eat spaghetti in the middle of it while I'm talking to you. Did you put them there? Great. Thank you. So the short answer is... actually, here, I'm trying to figure this. What should we do here? Should we do... I tell you what, we'll have 2 windows up. How about that? We'll have 2 windows up right here. Yes, that's what we'll do. And then this one we'll CD into AMA. Oopsie, exit, CD into AMA. I'm going into the AMA in case you're wondering, you're just listening. I'm going into the AMA directory. There is a github.com/rwxrob/AMA repo that's got all of these questions in sort of a Zettelkasten format. Actually, no, it's just all in a README right now. And I am going to be putting them in there so that I can put them elsewhere. All right. In fact, I'm going to put an H now in here so people can see the date separating them all. So a couple questions. So the first question was, what was it? It was, I'm gonna eat in your ear. Yes, I'm definitely gonna eat in your ear. I have no problem with that. Haven't you learned this by now about me? Yeah, just consider it ASMR. I'll turn the sound down or something. I don't know. So the first official question was, what's your WAN IP address? You want to know? I'll tell you. I'm going to tell you right now. What is your WAN IP address? I love this because the hackers are like, you know. You gotta say, what's my IP address? What's my IP? My IP. There you go. There's my IP address. I'm not going to say the numbers out. If you try to hack me, that's fine. But I wish you wouldn't. I really wish you wouldn't. These days, people, your IP address is safe. There's a bunch of very serious security people, much more qualified than I, that openly put their IPs out. They don't care. And there's actually a few people out there who have honeypots on their IP address for the incomers. I may or may not have that. I can either confirm or deny that I have a honeypot. I don't want you to find out though. So please, if you're going to scan me and stuff, I will know it. That I can tell you right now, if you can get away with it. So please don't. But it is actually kind of indirectly, it's kind of a good question because a lot of people are afraid of giving up their IP address. Did you see, speaking of IP addresses, did you see the official launch? No, I'm not kidding. There was an official launch. I got to find this story. Just telling you. The official launch with a product. I don't know, product with one, was it with localhost. They told them to go to localhost. This is a real thing. Localhost.run, that's not it. God, I don't know if we're going to be able to find it. There was an official launch, and they officially launched, and they told everybody in the press release to go to localhost. It's like another intern mistake. Ooh, see, I might have to eat some of this in front of you guys. This is the wonderful Doris Kapner is bringing me food. I will take a break at some point in here and eat that in front of you, but not right now. You might want to. What are you doing? Anyway, so if you can find it, it's kind of funny. I don't feel inclined to go look for it more. But if you, there was actually an official launch. Yeah, and they said that it was on localhost. Anyway, so we'll go back to this now. Oh, I was going to tell you, yes, if you want to put the exclamation point in front of your questions and stuff, then I won't see them. They won't show up on the screen. That's fine. You can ask people in the chat, and I'll go put the chat up here so that I can see it. Yep, there we go. Can you shut the door, please? Can you shut the door? All right. So, all right. So, what else we got? How do you open the current page in Lynx or Firefox? Okay, that is a quick and dirty little hack that is in Perl right now to people. So to some people's chagrin, I've since done most of the stuff in Bash. We could probably rewrite it in Bash. So the question is, how do you open? What is it? How do you say that? How do you open the current page in Firefox? Oh, and from Lynx. How do you open current page in Firefox from Lynx? All right. So the short answer is the colon. The short answer is the colon. Do you know about this? Yeah. So if you press colon, it will actually open up using the system's browser. Okay, so let me try if I can show you. So if I do, I don't know. Let me see. I'm kind of slow today. Okay, so for those of you listening, I'm opening up Lynx, which is a web browser, text-based web browser. We're going to do a whole week on Lynx coming up here pretty soon. Web-based research from the command line. And so you can, so let's say, I don't know, I want to pull up RDBXGG. So pull up, that's my open knowledge project. It's kind of waning and getting out of date. So there's a couple of things you can do here. First of all, you can just navigate. I should probably put my S keys on. I should do that. Yeah, let me put the S keys on. S keys. Now you can see what I'm typing. Okay. So I'm on the website here, and it's got graphics on it or something like that, and I just want to open it really quickly. I really do this a lot when I find, like, GitHub sites or something like that. And it's, hi dude, how's it going? And then you do colon, and it's in the background, so I have to switch back, but there it is. Okay, and that opens it up. That opens it up. Yeah, I don't remember if there's a special configuration for that. I'm pretty sure that just opens it. And actually, period is another one. Period will open the link that you're currently on. So if you do period, it'll open the link that you're currently on. So there's boost. And if you do colon, it will open up the current page that you're staring at. And that's what's going on here. Now, I believe I have this mapped to something, and that's what I was going to tell you about, the actual script that does this. So I have a script that called open. Here, I'll give it to you. Give open. Oh, I did it in the wrong page, so that's not going to work. I don't think. Did you guys get a copy? Did you? No? Well, it's in my dot files. It's called open, and it kind of does a bunch of stuff. And so what it does is so it's Perl. This could easily be Bash. You could rewrite this in Bash, no problem, right? So this says it opens it. It says if I try to open something, the argument has GitHub in the name, or it has git at or something like that. Then do some replacements and go ahead and check and see if it's this is a check to see if it's a GitHub repo. So it's checking to see if I'm in a GitHub repo. If I'm in a GitHub repo, then open the GitHub page of the repo. So I just do open space, enter, and it just opens it up, that GitHub repo, no matter where it is. And I don't have to do dot or anything. If not though, and it's because it's GHN exec Firefox new window. So this is a trick. This Chrome doesn't have something like this, I don't think. At least I didn't find it. Last time I checked it wasn't as good. Firefox has a thing called dash new window, which gives you this nice clean extra window, so you can just delete that one and it doesn't kill everything else. Does it have it, Vera? Okay, thank you. So then you go ahead and you open it up, and that's it. And so the exec, you just don't need dash new window. Really? Okay, well, I'll try that. So you just put it. So this says if I had something in there, that means if GH actually had something defined in it, it's not empty, then go ahead and exec Firefox. Now exec, you just need to know that replaces the current running shell script in the memory and process and events and everything with the new Firefox process, and then it takes over. So it literally converts whatever I was doing into a new Firefox thing. If this is only if I have an argument, by the way. This is if I don't have an argument, I'm sorry. If I have an argument, it says check to see if the argument is readable. That means, is it a file? Is there a file there? If there is a file, this is just shorthand, and Perl's really great for shorthand. Then go ahead and run xdg open, which is one of the greatest things ever that's supported on GNOME. Now, you can say whatever you want about desktops. I'm not going to start warring with you over that. Oh, thanks for that, Vera. It'll just open a tab, yeah. Yeah, I would rather not have it open in a tab, though. I'd rather have a new window. That's the whole point on this one. And mostly because it also opens it in the same window I'm in. I don't want to have to go searching through my monitors to see which one it's going to be on. So then it opens here. Then over here it says, so if it was a file, go ahead and open it with the file browser. And then xdg open is really cool because if it's a PDF, it'll open it with your PDF viewer. If it's, we're actually going to talk about mailcap later. Mailcap is an old thing that's still recognized by Lynx and other things that will open it using, whatever your preferred applications is what it's Nullcap's different than that, but it's still something that's related to that. So if I get past here, it says, okay, well, do I have HTTP? Yeah. So did the argument begin with HTTP and then it's a URL, right? If it did, go ahead and replace it with HTTPS and then call Firefox on that. So that allows me to actually open with one command. I can open URLs, I can open local files, or I can open the current GitHub repo that I'm in. Even if I'm like 3 levels down inside of the repo, it'll detect what GitHub repo it is and it'll open it. Okay, so this is not it wasn't your direct question, but I thought that's what you were asking. If you use WSL2, use WSLU as it does the same stuff. Ooh, Vera, that is some very valuable information from Billy there. XD, I did not know that. So, and I've been a big WSL2 guy lately. You're prophetic, Vera. You're absolutely right. You love hearing when you're right, right? Like it when I tell you when you're right. You're absolutely right. I'm back to WSL2 because Docker Desktop crashed and burned. I'm not even going to talk about it. They consolidated all the issues. They just closed my issue on Docker Desktop. By the way, if you ever get an issue with Docker Desktop, you go to Docker on GitHub and then go to the /win project, and that's where you open your tickets. And there's a ton of tickets there with problems. A bunch of install through Windows Store has WSU installed by default. Oh, that's very nice. I couldn't do it through Windows Store because they block you at work. But all right, so that's very, very good stuff. What else we got going on here? I'm actually reading from this new. I'm kind of getting used to stuff. I'm just gonna close this one up. So the short answer is is comma. So on the side I just put comma and it opens it in the background because I'm full screen. Because I'm full screen, I have to go in. Whoops, did I do it? There we go. So it opens it in the background and it full screens it. Okay, so that's the answer. Now, the last thing we were going to check on that was to see if I put anything fancy in my Lynx config. We lost our music. What's up with my audio library not continuing to... Oh, it's playing something new now. Okay. So here, we don't want Lynx bookmark. We want config for Lynx. And I don't remember where I put it. Did I put .local? No. I don't know. I have a crazy thing going on with Lynx, and this is why I have to explain it. Because Lynx was made for multi-user systems, which we don't have that much of anymore. And so I had to wrap it up. I'm going to talk all about this at length later. This is an old script, you can tell, because I'm using single bars. I hate single bars in shell. So let's go look for it. Let's go look in the config. By the way, if you're using Lynx, you absolutely have to change the user agent, or half the sites out there will block you, including dev.to, we found out, because it thinks you're a hacker tool. So by every place I go, it thinks I'm an Intel Mac. So every time I browse the internet and do research, the whole world thinks I'm a Mac. Which, whatever. So I know that's kind of like sick and wrong. I know. How's it going, Big Jim? Hi Rob. Go job offers always take like 3+ years of experience with other experience, such as Java, which I hate. What do you think is the best way to go for a Go job? Oh my gosh, make sure you save that question because I want to answer it also. Yeah, just get it. Yeah, that would probably be what I would say too. One last little check here though. What is it? Is it config? Config. This is kind of good. I'm liking this music. Gotta remember to star all of them. That's the problem. It's so hard to manage. Spotify doesn't have a very good interface either, I've noticed. So we're looking at links.cfg to make sure there's nothing fancy. I don't even know. This is one of those files that just never ends. Look at this. It's like 3,835 lines of configuration. Most of which are just commented out. So I don't know if I did it or not. I tell you what, I will find out for you. But the answer is colon. So that's the answer. I use colon and it starts up the file. And if you want to be absolutely sure it does the same thing, go grab this. Oh gosh, Billy, I don't know about that one. So that was the answer to that. So wait, where are we? Okay, so yeah. Another question. So I don't know how we're gonna get to them all. I'm just gonna look. I'm gonna read up here. Just give me a second here. So I don't. Somebody asked a question before that. I'm gonna go to it first. Oh my gosh. Let's see. Oh my gosh. There's like so many questions here. WANIP gave you that one. What is the theory of relativity to not apply to subatomic particles? Well, that's why I said just about anything. You can ask me questions. It doesn't mean I'm going to answer them. I don't know. Good question. That is a great question. I'm going to write it. Why does the theory of did you see that new stuff with Hawking and the documentary on Netflix about the discovery? They mapped called the pair theory, where they mapped all the stuff, the kind of the emissions from black holes now. Yeah. So they actually are able to track, where stuff goes. It doesn't just go in, it doesn't come back out. Actually, black holes actually do emit stuff. And they found that was super cool. It was a relatively recent thing. There's a big documentary on it on Netflix. Hawking died while he was writing about that. If you want to get into particles and stuff like that and understand all that stuff, and you're just an armchair interested person in it, I cannot recommend enough a documentary called Particle Fever. I'm going to say it again, Particle Fever. I think it's free these days. You can go out on YouTube and watch that. Strongly recommend that. Really good. If anyone wants to know my IP, what to do when your parents dosed? I don't know what that means. If you're going to restate that, let's see. Okay. Oh God, I'm going to have to copy this because this is like way too long. All right. So it looks like I'm favoring the Twitch questions right now. If you're in YouTube land, I hear you. I see you. I know you're there. How's it going, Joel? How's it going, Nominous? We're gonna take a YouTube question after this. What to do when your parents doesn't support you? How about so we don't? How your parents don't support you on software development and want to kick you out? Well, there's two questions. That's two different questions. Let's break it down. First, okay, let's break this one down. And anybody else who's got insight into this, please let us know. What do you do when your parents don't support you on software development? So what does that mean, though? I mean, what does that mean they don't support you on software development? They're telling you to get another job, and they're saying you have to leave our home unless you learn what we want you to learn. I think it's time to leave the nest. That's what I think. I think, honestly, I mean, I'm just you guys don't even know Anlanders. It's way before your time. The game engine, about the Rust game engine, we'll get there. They don't want me to keep on the tech path. Okay, why? Could someone please explain to me why they wouldn't want you on the tech path? Because that's why I wouldn't do CS degree. Well, a CS degree and the tech path are not necessarily the same thing. Raise your hand if you never had a CS degree and you're making good money doing tech stuff. I bet you there's half the room would raise their hand right now. So yeah, let's see. Yeah, that's just not a thing. So yeah, Vera's got, oh my God. Vera, you have no degree at all? Nikes. I wish you could see this guy's skills. He's so remarkable. I can't believe he doesn't even have a degree. Okay, I continue to run into people who don't have degrees who have crazy good skills. Greg comes to mind as well. Gregor Casey. He's one of my regulars. I don't know if he's out there tonight, but 0 credits for college. Yeah. So let me just say, yeah. Look, I tell people all the time when I've been mentoring over the years, look, even if you don't know if you don't know what you want to do in life, learn tech skills, learn to code, learn some cloud native, whatever, get decently good, and then get a job doing that, even as a junior, is going to be better than, a service job of some other kind, And so it does give you a little bit more possibilities, I think. I mean, on average, you're going to make at least double the money. For even a junior tech job is going to pay double the money of most, low-end service jobs. But if you don't want to be with your parents, get out, get a job, and do it. Just go for it. You can emancipate yourself and go for it. And I'm not even kidding. I didn't leave the home, but this isn't a bad comment about my family, but I pretty much wasn't home from the time I was, 15, probably. I would say I pretty much lived at my neighbor's house, and I'd come home every once in a while. I worked 2 jobs. I worked at the grocery store. I worked at the pizza place. Just get a job doing whatever, and then make your own do whatever you can on your own. If you're in a place where it's hard to get a job, I mean, service, there are always jobs. There's people who don't want to do those jobs because they're minimum wage and they're flipping burgers or something. But I guarantee you there's always jobs. By the way, if you want a really great service job, delivering pizza in a rich neighborhood is a great job for someone with no skill. Honestly. So, okay, we're going to come back and talk about that as well. All right. Let's do another one. So that's my answer to that. Having people want to kick you out you know what? If your parents threaten to kick you out, just leave. Seriously, just leave. Just leave and go show them and go do it. Every parent out there is going to that is such irresponsible advice. Why are you saying that? I don't give a shit. Seriously, you do not need anyone. You I know that's really unpopular opinion. You can make your own destiny, but it's going to take courage, and it's going to be dangerous, and it's going to scare the crap out of you. But you can do it, and people do it all the time. Don't ever feel like your parents totally control you. As long as you live under their roof, they get to tell you how things are, but they can't tell you everything. My sons and I mean, many of them, were raised under a very strict Mormon household, and they all ended up not being Mormon at the end, and they learned to toe the line while they had to, and then they didn't cause any fights or anything, and then they did a thing. Now, if you're a drug addict or you're selling yourself on the street, that's a different thing, and I would suggest against that. There are lots of other ways to make money, besides those things. I'm not saying, look, you make your own decisions. Just be your own person. And just stop being afraid of your parents. Really, one of the things that has destroyed our society is that from a very young age, we are taught to fear everything, or we fear the belts. We fear this. If the sooner you can get over the fear, the sooner you can live your life and you can actually find it. And that fear happens in all different areas. There's fear institutionalized in religion. There's fear institutionalized in our schools. There's fear institutionalized in our families. It's always the fear that's holding you back. Get over the fear, but be willing to work for it, and then move on. And you know what? You might die. Don't be afraid of that either. Find a way to just move forward, and don't let the fear cripple you. The fear is the thing that's stopping all of your progress, everything. And and some of that fear is good, right? It's like, hey, I need to survive. Well, so you acknowledge it, but then turn it into work or drive or something like that. Let's see here. Wow. Let's see. That was a tough one. Let's. I'm kind of cherry picking here, but let's see here. Yeah, tech is the great way to make money. Don't take advice on careers from your parents. Just don't. Don't do your own research and then make your own decisions. Right? And you should include the opinions of your parents as well. But don't let your parents dictate your future. The end. I'm going to tell a little quick story on this, okay? There is a very, very affluent optometrist who came in and sat down with his son, who was like a state champion track star. Brilliant guy. I mean, really smart, really hardworking, beautiful kid. And he sat down in there next to with his dad. And it was the first time. I always have application interviews when I was doing this privately and in one-on-one. And we were talking, and I've told the story before, but I said, well, what do you find, what do you find yourself doing on your own time that you're interested in? And I kid you not, the kid this is a teenager. He's like 18, and he went to answer, and his dad talked over him and started answering all the questions for him. And I was like, and I just like, and I let him answer, and I was polite. And then it happened again. And every time it happened, this guy was, and you could tell from his body language, he was always all like this. His arms were always like, he was always just sitting there, and he was just watching his dad just say everything for him. And it became so drippingly obvious that this guy's entire life had been controlled by his father. Now, thank God I wasn't raised in that kind of atmosphere. I was raised in kind of the opposite of that. I had, I love my dad. He was there for me best he could be. But the fact of the matter is that, I learned a lot of independence because no one going to do it for me. I had to learn to do it myself, or I wasn't going to do it. Nothing was going to happen unless I did it. But in this case, I was like experiencing this thing. It was actually really chilling. It was kind of scary. And so he did it again. And I was getting really annoyed. One of the reasons I do these interviews is to see whether this is someone that I can actually work with. And a lot of the times it's the parents are the problem, not the person I'm trying to help. And so I said to the guy, I went to do it again, and I said, and I finally shut him up, and I said, "Excuse me, I'm asking him." And I said it just like that. And I thought the guy was going to pop a blood vessel in his head. He was so pissed off. I talked back to him. He had clearly been the controlling factor in everything about his life. He was very successful, very, very successful. You could tell he was very wealthy. And then I knew I was going to be in trouble, because then I said, well, we don't have time. We were talking about schedules and stuff, right? Guess what he says? He goes, well, I'll pay for somebody else to be here if you can make room for me. I was like, no, you don't understand. There's no spaces here. And what he was suggesting is that should kick another kid out. He wasn't saying it directly, but he was suggesting that I should kick another person I've been working with for years out in order to make room for his person, and that he would pay for yet another person. In other words, he was going to grease the wheels with money, as he'd become accustomed to doing, and that meant that his son was going to get extra treatment. And by the way, when I shut that guy down, you would not believe the smile on his son's face. His son just went, he just smiled from ear to ear. I mean, he was so happy, that somebody had done that. Actually, the rest of the interview was kind of scary. It was kind of touch and go there, because I would ask him a question again, and then he would start to talk again. And then I could start to see that he was getting defiant. And I could see that he was starting to say, his dad would say, well, yeah, but you like this and this and this. He goes, no, I actually don't. I actually like this and this. And then they were starting to argue about what he liked with his dad. He was arguing about, his dad was telling him what he liked. And he's like, no, I actually don't like that. I actually prefer blah, blah, blah. And they were actually having a little thing right there. And I kind of started it. And I want to tell you, I mean, obviously I sent him home with one of our Acer laptops, which is a standard laptop to work from. It's plenty to work from in Linux. The next week, he brought it back to me, and his dad said, my dad got me this. His dad paid like $3,600 for like an MSI gaming laptop that was way over the top, and he didn't need to do at all. And it's actually harder to get Linux on there, because now I have to dual boot it or do something like that, because he's still going to want Windows on there. And I actually wanted him to have an Acer or some sort of cheap computer with a Linux machine on it. And his dad wouldn't have it. His dad was like, no, I'm sorry. He's like, no, my sons do not use cheap Acer laptops. You will not be seen with a cheap Acer laptop running Linux on it. Now, that's exactly what happened. That MSI thing was breaking down all the time. It couldn't do anything. He locked himself out of accounts. He's the only person who ever didn't remember his password and completely lost a domain name because he couldn't even log in. Ultimately, he was being pulled in too many different directions and he couldn't do it. And I just said, this isn't working out. If you guys want to try again, we can try again another time. But, because he was getting his time split between, he was being told it's more important for you to get a track scholarship than it is for you to learn these technical things that you've been wanting to learn. He was really building a drone business and stuff like that. So I know that's a long one, and this is why I'm going all the way till 8 o'clock. But I really want to talk about that particular thing, and this is not something that I talk about So since somebody asked about the parent thing, that's my opinion. I over 8 years, I have seen parents snuff out their children's personal interest in technology. I've seen them do all kinds of crazy stuff, and I'm done apologizing for my feelings about those parents. If you are living with a parent who's telling you what to do, tell them to shut up and listen to what you want to do. And then if they don't like that, you make a commitment to yourself that you're going to make that happen no matter what. And you should still be respectful. I know I sound disrespectful right now. You should still be respectful. But if it comes to push comes to shove, and they say you don't, and they say, I'm sorry, if you want a tech career, you can't live here anymore, which is the stupidest thing I've ever heard come out of a parent's mouth, then you should probably stop. It's not the stupidest thing. The stupidest thing I ever heard a parent say was, I don't want my son playing Minecraft. It's too violent. True story. True story. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. All right, so let me go back on. I'm sorry, I'm like way behind, but I wanted to get that out of my system. That was a good one. I know CS3 make good money doing tech stuff. Yes, I was doing tech stuff before college. Yeah, I have 0 credits from college. Very perfect example. I mean, I can't tell you how many people have changed their stars, whatever you want. I love that term from A Knight's Tale. I love A Knight's Tale in general. My recommendation is to study math and science and teach yourself code. Yes. What's your take on Red Hat Certified System Administrator? Let me answer that one, and then I'm going to answer some from YouTube. So YouTube, I will answer some of those as well. It's a little bit harder to see them, but I can do that. What's your take on Red Hat Certified System Administrator? I have a good friend who got this. Administrator back, in the 90s, after I taught him Linux. He gave me a nice thank you note, thank you thing at IBM, because we were system administrators and were told not to do anything extra because the client would expect it. So one of the things I did is I kind of informally taught him some Linux, and he went on to become an RCSA and all that. A certified system. I have an entire video called Why Certify, and that's all I'm going to say is go watch that. And I'm going to give you my little blurb about this. So employment, if you have to ask yourself, why are you getting certified, right? Why are you getting certified? Is it because you want to feel good about the learning? Is it because you want a job? Why is it? And if you're doing it because you want a job, you have to ask a better question. What will create trust with my potential employers? What do my potential employers trust to prove to them that I can get this job and do this job? And it's easy for me to say it. I actually, went through employment this year, very actually helped me get this job. But it's still, it reaffirmed everything I thought before. Getting a job is about proving you can do the job. And that proof depends on the job. It depends on the employer. And it depends on you. And if getting the question, should I certify, is actually a different question. That's like saying, should I learn how to use a hammer, a ball peen hammer? And if somebody were to ask you that, it's like, well, I don't know. What do you want to do? Are you going to be a carpenter? Are you going to do better? You know what I'm saying? It's like, so, asking about what language you should learn and whether you should get certified and stuff, those questions are kind of premature, because those are all, things that you want to do along the way, milestones to get you to where you want to be. And so you have to think about what the goal is first. And if the goal is employment, there's lots of other questions to ask before you should certify, right? In terms of certifications, the Red Hat Certified System Administrator is still widely recognized by HR. And the main reason you would get a piece of paper like that is to get past HR, by the way. So if you're going to if your plan to get a job is to cold call a bunch of companies and get past their HR department, then getting pieces of paper and certifications like that might get you past that door. But I'm going to tell you right now, that is not the most efficient way to get a job. Every single job I've ever got was from somebody I knew who recommended me or who referred me or who was already associated with the job, or even people that I met at conferences, and not conferences, at trade shows, different thing. I never once have got a job through cold calling someone, and I think it's a very bad approach. I know a lot of people have got jobs that way. I think it's a bad approach. I think you're going to have a better fit by, making friends with lots of different people, going to local meetups, doing live streaming, whatever it takes to make those connections. And then from those connections say, hey, well, we were hiring so and such. And then saying, oh, okay, here you go. Here's my thing. And then whoever you end up meeting gets kind of a preview of your expertise. And then they can go to their bosses who are looking for people to hire. And they can say things like, you'd be crazy not to hire this guy, which is what happened with Gabe and some others have got jobs, and then, and in fact, the people that I helped get jobs, they called me or I made associations with them at a meetup. And I said, hey, well, I got these guys over here, guys and gals, that are, available. And he's like, oh, well, let's look at that. And so it's the social thing. And I just cannot overstate how important it is to keep social connections when it comes to professional associations. I hate LinkedIn. I'm not on it, but I do think that, so if you think that getting this degree or this, these number of certificates and all that stuff, I still think you're going to struggle to get a job unless you work the network of people. And that means learning about the company, finding people that work at that company, going to meetups that have people that are known to have people who work at that company in them, and making those connections, because that's how business happens. That's how jobs happen, is it happens through that one-on-one connection, because it just makes everything else easier later on. If you're cold calling, forget it. Not helping it. It's not going to happen. That was weird. We had like no music, and now we have a bunch of music. Must be time for me to. It's like the Oscars. It's time for me to shut up and move on. Wow, we got lots of questions here in YouTube. Should writers learn some programming? I love this one, Nominus. Let me answer this question. I did think I mentioned it before. I absolutely do think that I think writers would actually I actually wrote a story game engine that I had targeted for creative writing for kids in schools. I never actually got around to presenting it at ISTE. I really want to do that. I wanted to make a presentation to the International Society for Tech and Education about how you could use something like a Python story game engine to infuse coding and creative writing with interest for people, for kids. So I absolutely do. I think if you're going to be a writer, absolutely the best language is Python, because you can actually put in the comment block at the beginning of your Python code the description of a room or a scenario or something like that, right? And then you can go on beyond that, and you can say, okay, what's next? And you can link up the rooms. If you're interested in that at all, if you search my repo, I don't know where it is. There's something called the StoryEng. StoryEng. I've completed one in JavaScript and Python. I want to do a Go one, but Python actually lends itself really well to that sort of thing because of the writing, because the writing is already very, very readable. JavaScript too. If you do JavaScript as a writer, it's probably going to be better for you, because then you can make online web-based interactive games and stuff like that. If I was a writer and I only had one language to pick, it would probably be JavaScript in the web, because my writing is probably going to most likely land on the web. But Python is actually also really fun to do, because, and actually the RPG maker, what's it called? I forget it's the name of it. There's an official RPG like writer, has, the big sort of anime backgrounds, and it's known for having and stuff like that. They always do that. But there's an RPG maker that's in Python, and that's, so yes, the answer is yes. So yes, I definitely think writers should program. I think everybody should learn programming. Programming doesn't have to be, bubble sorts and rooted node trees and linked lists. It can be just enabling whatever you want to do, and that could be just making a point and click adventure game that's got a lot of writing in it. Joel says, hi, how does this work? Oh, well, just ask a question and hopefully I get to you. This is the second question about NeoVim. I keep getting asked these questions, and I'm going to keep answering them. Vim versus NeoVim. I'm going to answer it as fast as I can. I made so many videos on this topic that everybody knows the answer. They don't want me to rant. They want to answer another question. Hey, show my parents I'm in control. Oh, yeah. Preferably using Vim. Vim versus NeoVim. So I'm gonna punt on this. I really am. If you actually care to know the answer to that question, go back and watch the boosts this week and last week where we talk about Vim and NeoVim. Any number of them have content in them about NeoVim. My short answer about why I strongly advise against NeoVim. Number one, it's alpha software. Number two, it's not going to work for you everywhere that you would use Vim. It's going to lock you into a system that may have a couple whiz-bang widgets and stuff that might look impressive, but ultimately NeoVim is an IDE. It aims to be an IDE, and when you really don't want that. You want Vim to be an editor. And if you don't believe me about why you want to do that, watch the last 3 boost days where we made filter scripts that did not require Lua, that did not require a plugin of any kind, and that were superior in every way to anything that can be done in NeoVim. Go watch them. Go watch them. Go and take me up on this. The NeoVim violates the fundamental premise of Unix philosophy and is a big bloated piece of crap. I hate it. I hate its design. I hate why it was made. I've written extensively about it. If you want to go, there's links to it. You can go see it. I think it's actually super bad because beginners are using it, and then they're not able to use Vim properly when they get on a system where they have to use Vim. And these days, I want people to be productive on anywhere, and especially if you're in SecOps or DevOps or any of this stuff, you want to be productive everywhere. If you want to sit in your little cubicle and write TypeScript for Netscape all day, fine. Maybe you should use NeoVim. But if you want to be productive on any computer in the world using the default text editor on millions, if not billions of devices at this point, learn Vim first. If you want to go on to then learn NeoVim later, great. That's fine. You can go do it if you want. I wouldn't. I would learn VI, and then I would learn Vim, and then if you want to learn NeoVim after that. But I would be very plugin light on your Vim and learn how to use Unix properly and use it as God intended, which is the command line. That's an unpopular opinion. I know. I don't care. Because I have talked with managers who come to me and they're like frantic because people keep coming, interns and people are coming into them. One guy from Lowe's came in and he's like, please, he asked my group. He's like, do you guys use Vim? And you're like, yes. And I said, do you use the arrow keys? It's like, no. It's like, use Vim, right? Not NeoVim, right? And you're like, yes. And he was so pleased because he had been so tired of having to, and it wasn't just some old guy. It was a guy who was actually in the enterprise getting work done. And there was a guy who, I think it was a troll, but try to take your NeoVim init.lua or whatever and use that at work and watch you get yourself laughed out of the room. All right. I'm going to stop talking about that because I feel very, very passionate about that. This has nothing to do with the individuals who made NeoVim. I think in that sense, I'm a lot like Bram. Bram actually said the best thing about NeoVim is the website. It has the only thing they got right was the website. I hate everything about NeoVim now, but the people who are involved in the NeoVim project, particularly TJ, are fantastic human beings. I mean, he's one of the few people that I still follow sometimes and watch what he does. They're the people that are not so nice, but in that group. But I really appreciate those people. I just hate some of the stuff that they're putting all their time into building, and that's fine. We can disagree on that, but I'm telling you my opinion. Don't use it. It's really bad. Great rant against fear. Okay, pretty good point about fear. I was afraid to mention a conspiracy theory to a friend over, so I waited until we met in person. Probably the right way to go. Do your own thing. Be yourself. Yes. Rob versus parents. Let's go. That's a bizarre question indeed. Zandeg Lee says, hi, Rob. I really appreciate your videos. My questions today. What is your opinion on distributed databases like etcd and Kubernetes? Do you think there will be more new distributed databases in the future? I do. I think that's going to be the future. It's funny to ask that. We just had a bunch of work with etcd. So I'm going to put this question in here. My question today is, what is your opinion on distributed databases? I do. It's funny because I actually listened to a Go Time podcast this week. It was an older one, and they were talking about etcd. Um, and I've had some experience with etcd today. I have not done anything specifically with it, but the level of fault tolerance in it and stuff has been aware. We've been aware of it lately. We were debugging some art problems that Billy's made reference to at our job, and etcd, you know, the ability for it to synchronize. I think it's a real important thing. I think we're going to see more and more of that personally. I don't know. I don't know though. I don't have a strong opinion on that because I'm not in it all the time, right? There's probably a lot more qualified people for me to comment on that. I think that the idea of a data store is still really relevant. You know, Redis kind of brought to the table this whole key value store kind of thing. And then now etcd. Etcd is everywhere. I mean, and I'm actually really interested in etcd. I'm probably going to go dig into it a lot because whether or not it's robust enough to do the job, people are really putting all their eggs into that basket. I mean, it's like, it is a really important thing to understand, and not just Kubernetes. So in case anybody doesn't know, etcd is at the core of Kubernetes. It's a way of storing all the important things and the secrets and stuff. And you can configure it to actually store so that the stuff it stores, including secrets, are encrypted at rest instead of, you know, just whatever. So I think that distributed databases is a really important thing. I'm actually really excited about this because I saw the opposite of non-distributed databases, where we were all, you know, tied into one Postgres database and had to do convoluted, crazy things to get you know, to get what do we call it? You know, sharding and not and what's the word? We'd have like multiple databases at the same time. We ended up trying to do all kinds of magical things that ended up being covered by what I'm seeing, you know, eventual concurrency databases doing. I think eventual concurrency is going to have a real healthy future, given the fact that everything is becoming concurrent. We have you know, systems that work that have over 200, 300 cores in them, and it's just going to get more and more highly concurrent, and that's just going to promote more and more distributed databases that are then perhaps serving as front ends to then, you know, have data be put in a final store of some kind. That's going to be a thing. I built a similar system at IBM, and that's what we did. And we actually, at the time, we used SQLite actually for our eventual consistency database, for better or worse, and then we would store it back into Postgres. It was one of the first Postgres projects I worked on. So the answer is yes. I think you should learn. I particularly think you should learn etcd because it's everywhere. So, and I need to learn it myself. Question: what are your opinions about heavy IDEs? IntelliJ. You know what? I like you asked that opinion on heavy IDEs. You're not going to like my answer on this. I actually think heavy IDEs are fine. I think they have a place in the universe, and they can accomplish some. Look. IDEs are a very personal decision. So somebody who uses an IDE can be just as efficient as somebody who uses the terminal only, depending on how they've built their skills up. There are some things you can do in IDE that you cannot do in just a text editor. But there are some things that you can do with just a text editor and Unix or Linux command line and Bash that cannot be done in an IDE. And if you don't believe me, watch the last 3 days of shell integration with, you know, just VI. The stuff that I do there cannot be done in IntelliJ. It can't be done in Eclipse. It can't be done any other thing. Now, but if you're doing Android development, I would be IntelliJ all the way, right? If you're doing Java development, I'd probably be forced to use Eclipse, right? I was actually. When I was forced to use Eclipse, I used VI on all the files underneath, and then I just used Eclipse for the front end. So it really depends on what you're doing. And it's such an individual question. I think if you're being mandated to use an IDE, that your employer better have a damn good reason for that. I would never, ever force my team to use the same IDE. I think that's ridiculous. And some people do it because of all this pair programming crap, and they have a dependency on some sort of plugin so that they can do all of that. I think that's a horrible way to manage your team. And I would actively advocate against that. And I, you know, whatever. But saying that you cannot produce code as quickly using just a text editor like Vim versus a big fat IDE is a lie. Particularly code completion and crap like that. I can build a snippets library that I have control of that uses shell scripts that I've written that can outdo anything that could be done in an IDE. Now I have to build up that system, and it doesn't come for free, and it's highly customized, and I have my own way of doing it. But I can build systems using template replacement and stuff that on the fly that cannot be done in an IDE. And if I had to spend the time to do the same exact thing in an IDE to build up a plugin for VS Code or something like that, it would take me a week to do something that I can do in 2 hours. And I did it 3 times this week. So if you want to go back and watch how you can use, and the other thing too is that when you invest all that time in learning eLisp for Emacs in order to make a plugin, that time is lost. That's cognitive overhead that doesn't ever come back. You spend all this time making this one plugin for VS Code. That's also time lost. The reason I'm such a Vim fan is because you put that time to make a really cool filter script or a snippets program in Bash or something, and all of that cognitive overhead and everything that you've invested conveys. Because now you've also kept your Bash skills up. You have a filter program that you can use. It doesn't even have to use an editor with it. That can be put into a pipeline and compared elsewhere. And so by using the IDEs are fundamentally against the Unix philosophy. They're completely antithetical to the Unix philosophy. They're big, fat, ugly monsters that try to be all things to all people, and if not, extend themselves into oblivion and take care of your memory out. Meanwhile, the Unix philosophy of keeping things small and light and pipelinable and filterable and event-driven and all of that makes for a system cognitively and a technical system that can be expanded on forever. And you can keep building it and iterating it and modifying. So that's my opinion on IDEs. I would, I think sticking with the Unix way, which is proven overwhelmingly to be the best way, is the way to go. But I have people disagree with me all the time on that. All right, so it's already been asked. We're only going to go. We're out of music. What happened to my music? There's something. You know what? The volume levels are all over the place. That's what's going on. The volume levels are all over the place in this library. Oh, it's not too bad. All right, let's go. I got another one. I'm sorry. I'm getting hungry. I got to eat my spaghetti. I tell you what. I'll wait till 8 and then I'll eat. All right. Another YouTube question. Okay. Let's see. Rust for game dev. Yeah, thankfully the game dev industry seems more resilient to the Rust lobby than poor old Linus. He's gone soft in the head. The whole thread of the Linux mailing list is a joke. I actually love it. I'm sorry if this has already been asked, but what's your opinion of W3M versus Lynx? I'm gonna skip the Rust for game dev thing. We talked about that. I'm just gonna give you the short version. You think of Rust for game dev? I've been following this for 4 years now. And actually, one of the guys that I helped get a job just committed some Rust code to the InfluxDB project. So I'll let you find him out. But and he's one of the ones who introduced me to Rust and was pushing for it. And he ultimately got a job when he gave in and decided to learn Go. And now he's writing Rust. So there you go. Maybe there's something of that. But we would talk about a lot of Rust for game dev. And I've been watching it for a long time. My position on Rust is that I don't think it's good at anything. I think if it's going to be good at one thing, it might have a future in game dev. But so far, I've said this over and over again. I get beat up all the time for it. Show me one project as significant as Kubernetes, Docker, Helm, Terraform that has been made in Rust. There are none because Rust is not a serious language. And I'm just going to say it again. It's never going to be a serious language because it takes too long to do anything in Rust. And you can say, and it's not safe. I mean, I've already talked about that. People keep claiming it's safe. It might have some cases where it's memory safe, but all the other core uses for Rust, they have to turn unsafe on anyway. And there's been academic papers. There's a whole playlist of me going out against Rust. I think if it's going to be used at all, it's going to be some sort of like little quirky thing where a few people who don't like C++ are going to do it for game dev, possibly. But other than that, you're going to have a bunch of Node people who are supporting it who might end up making it. And every single project. Okay, so let me give you another example. InfluxDB decided to take a chance and play around with this little sub project within their company, but their core database is still in Go and always will be. Why? Because they need resiliency, they need sustainability, they need an open code base with lots of developers who know it and can pick up the language really quickly. And if you don't believe me on any of those points, just go listen to Go Time, the podcast, for like 10 or 12 episodes, and just listen to the developers go through the process of making a decision about why they chose Go for their startups, why they didn't choose it versus another language, why they picked this, and for all those reasons. And if you still think that Rust has a future in any of those areas, then I feel sorry for you. But one of those areas might be game dev. So the one thing's for sure is that the people who like Rust are really loud and opinionated, more so than me even. So, all right. So next question. I'm sorry if this has already been asked, but what's your opinion on W3M versus Lynx? That is coming up. Toby, that's a great question. I actually love them both. I used to be pro Lynx over W3M. I've totally changed my opinion on that. Your opinion there. This is actually coming up on the boost. Okay. We're going to cover both W3M and Lynx. And the shorter answer is, if you want to get into text-based browsing as fast as possible, go with W3M with the defaults. It's really great. It's reasonably fast. It doesn't take any configuration. Lynx out of the box is abysmally bad. It's really, really bad. It has extra checks. It has all these things that it forces you to do. It just takes forever to browse anything. But it does have some things, if you actually tweak Lynx a bit better, it still tips the scale for me to like it a little bit better. I actually like how it formats text better. People who keep telling me to use W3M because it does images don't get why I like to use a text-based browser for consistency. I want my eyes to be able to glaze over what's on the screen and jump around really fast. I don't want any notion of an image anywhere on the screen. That's the reason I'm using a freaking text browser. Okay, so I don't use that as a justification. So that's my answer. If you really, I do have a Lynx container. If you go to look at my .dog files, I have that. I have a Lynx configuration there. I have if you go up to on Docker RWX Rob under there's a container called Lynx, which is just Lynx with all the configurations that I have set up. I have a Vim centric Lynx that I can browse with just one hand, so that I can drink coffee and browse with one hand using VI mappings. And so that's my take on that. That's a great question though, because I used to be one of the other the W3M is also uses arrows to get around and stuff, so it can actually be slower. I like Lynx's VI mappings that go between link to link and then spacebar. I like the mappings, the Lynx mappings a little bit better than W3M, but they are both really, really great as long as you're giving it a shot. Okay, let's see here. What's the actual use of TMUX? Can't understand the use. Oh, Shreem, I'm gonna have to give you a sense of TMUX another day. This is me using TMUX right here. For all kinds of things. I can split my screens. TMUX is my desktop environment. People ask all the time, what window manager do I use? And my answer is TMUX, which is literally an accurate answer, because these are all just windows and terminals and they work everywhere. So yeah, I'm going to be doing a full week on TMUX too. Those are all coming up on the boost. This is great because the questions you have are about what's coming up. What's the actual use of TMUX? You can go look on github.com/rdbxrob/boost. You'll see in the outline at the beginning that the stuff for W3M, Lynx, and TMUX is coming up. And I'm going to talk about how to do that. I've decided to spend at least a week on all of that because I feel like it's so important to becoming a terminal master, where you do everything from the terminal, like everything from the terminal. Unless there's a graph you have to see or something, you're doing everything in the terminal. It'll make you much more efficient than everybody else. So that the use of TMUX is anything you would do with the window. I don't know if you can see it right now, but I've got lots of things going on, and this is all because of this. The Tau of TMUX. Yes, that's also really, really, really good, Vera. Yep, that's great. That's a great suggestion. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, so that's another YouTube questions. Math Alphabet asks again, you dislike NeoVim so much it's hard for you to type the name. Just joking. It's probably true. The crazy thing is I didn't start out hating Rust and NeoVim as much as I did. I really didn't. You can even go back and watch the videos of me tentatively like wading into these things and trying to use them. My detest for these things came about over time because I kept running into problems, substantial problems that are going to really seriously affect beginners. And then, yeah, it's hate. People hate on hate all the time. Hate also means strong dislike, right? So if you're going to call me a hater because I strongly dislike something, go ahead. Because I do. I hate NeoVim. I hate it. And and I absolutely hate Rust. I really hate it. I wish it had never been born. After many years of using C, I'm getting into Go. That's cool. Do you know what the tagline on the Go page is? The main mantra, or the main whatever, the header line, whatever the lead in for Go is a simplified C. That's what Go was aspiring to do, Mark. Any specific pitfalls I should watch out for things with Go? Just getting started with Go. Before you do a lot of investment in your Go learning, wait for Go generics. Oh my gosh, there's a Go fuzzing library coming out too. Holy cow! You guys listen to the Go Time podcast that just came out this week. There's a security group, and they are investing heavily in Go fuzz and making it part of the standard library for fuzz testing built into the language. It's just so stinking cool. So I don't know what to say. If you've already got C under your belt, you'll be fine. Mark, I would probably go through the tour of Go if you've already done C, because there's bitwise mathematics and stuff like that are not really good for beginners. The other thing, Mark, I would really strongly recommend people get, I have nothing to do with the person who wrote this book, but I've read about half of Learning Go. That's the name of it. It came out from O'Reilly this year. And it has a lot of idiomatic approaches, things like pass interfaces, return structs, things like that are in it that I found valuable to learn the Go way. And there's a number of assumptions. There's also, so let me send you another link. What is it? So if you go to http rdbx.gg/lang/go, there's my recommendations here. The Go programming specification, it's an EBNF, but it's really useful. How to write Go code and effective Go are two mandatory reads for any would-be Go programmer. Make absolutely sure that you read effective Go and how to write Go code. They've been long time out there, but they're really important to read. So there you go, rdbx.gg/lang/go. RDBXGG has got a lot of outdated stuff on it. That's why I turned off all the links and stuff, but someday I might be able to get back and do that. So how should I get started to Go? There is actually, I would also start listening to the Go Time podcast. I have really enjoyed it. I went into kind of like trepidatiously, and I've actually, there's a lot of topics on the Go Time podcast, some of which they spend like way too long talking about. So I only listen to it when I'm going for a run or something. But there's a bunch of things that cause you to think. And they have a segment called Unpopular Opinions at the end, which is great because it's controversial. But I recommend it. It'll help give you one of the hardest things to get a sense of when you're coming to a language is, what is the way to do a thing, or what are the idiomatic approaches to things, or why does this exist, and those kind of questions. So if you kind of want to feel like you're connected, but not too connected. I mean, the Rust community, you could say they have a great community and they're really supportive until you disagree with them. then you're the devil and you should be weeded out. But the Go community to get a sense of the community. I think the Go Time podcast would be something good for you to listen to. It's very well produced, and I have nothing to do with it. I've just been listening to it. So there. That's all the YouTube questions. Let me go back to the Twitch and see how much farther we've got before we go. There's a question about why I dislike NeoVim. We talked about that. Honestly, I'm not trying to perch you off on the NeoVim thing. People that know me have been on the stream for a while on this channel. They've heard me talk about NeoVim so much they just want me to move on. So go, look for anything in the title or in the boost, or that talks about NeoVim. I have videos on it, and I've done the write-ups on that too. What else we got? Red Hat, yes, Red Hat is the big one, even though their president just stepped down. You guys saw that, right? The president of Red Hat just stepped down. Yep. They had a massive email problem at IBM too. But I really hate Java. Okay, here we go. Ooh, wow, this is some good stuff. Oh boy, here we go. Holy moly, all this good stuff. A good relationship with your professors, yeah. Back case helicopter parent, yeah. Yeah, MSI was a great laptop. I'm not saying it's a bad laptop. I'm just saying it was an unnecessary overkill. Don't want son having a tech career. Yeah. Sanctions against the country. Interesting. If it's best I can offer. What's most efficient? All jobs are from networking, right? Never had a proper interview. Yep. Have you constantly keep in connection with people you meet? I don't. I don't. So I am like so bad at this. I am like the world's worst friend. How do you keep contact? What was it? With people I meet. I used to do Facebook, and then no, I just could not do it. I used to do LinkedIn, couldn't do that. So I've lost all of my professional associations, other than this, and Twitter and email. I don't know. I don't know, man. That's a very personal question. How do you keep your connections with people? That I have lost connections with my own family and my sons and stuff like that. So I mean, I've met thousands, if not, thousands and thousands of people that have been really significant to me all over the world, throughout my career and throughout my, when I was Mormon, I was a missionary, and all the people in Russia that I met while I was living there. I don't have contact with any of them. And one of the things that I've had to let go of, and I'm probably a failure at this, is I can't carry the guilt from not keeping all the connections with all the people that I've met. It just weighs me down so much and keeps me from doing more and progressing that I just have to let it go. And some people would say I do it too much. That my Aunt Nona used to send birthday cards to every one of her, nieces and nephews and aunts and, or everyone. And she spent almost all her life doing that. And that's what she chose to do. She was a wonderful human being. And that's fine. But it's like, so I don't know. They say you can only keep close relationships with like maybe less than 10 people total. So the people, even my own family in this house right now, they brought me food, right? We have to work on maintaining our relationship in the house, giving each other time to actually talk to each other, to keep a connection, to go for a walk with each other, because we're all driven. We're all doing crazy, amazing things. Plus we all, like our forms of recreation, some of which are sometimes by ourselves watching, whatever movie. So I guess, how do you keep contact with people in general is what I'm getting at. I don't know. But I will say this, life is too short to feel guilt over the people that you've lost connections with. Baz Luhrmann from the Sunscreen song says that as you get older, stay in touch with those you knew when you were young, because the people that you knew when you were young will matter more to you as you get older. And that's probably true, but I believe really strongly in making the person who's in front of me the most important person in that moment, and always focusing on the person who's in front of me, and the people that I'm with. And that means the people that are in my house at the time get the most attention. That means the people that I stream with, you know, this is the closest thing I have. This was really groundbreaking for me because I had absolutely no friends at all. And it's not just because I'm an asshole. It's like I had no friends because it takes a lot to be my friend. You know, I had some, but it's not the kind of people I would hang out with. I mean, Bob comes to mind. I think Bob might not be out there. He's one of my better friends who's locally here that I met through a meetup. I think that's where we met. Where did we met, Bob? Are you still there? And even him, we talk about we're gonna go get drinks sometime, and we just never make time for it. I mean, there's always other things happening, and it's not that I don't like him or any of the other people. It's just like, you know, my wife has a couple really close friends and one super duper close friend, and I just absolutely love that she has that relationship. It's just so much fun to watch, and I sometimes miss that. You know, I've never had like a bromance. I've come kind of close sometimes. I don't know. So I don't know how you keep contact with people you meet. I would just, if I were you, I would definitely keep track of their email, and if they have a Twitter, that's the two ways I would do it. If it's a professional connection, those are the main ways I keep connected with people. That and GitHub, of course. For me right now, GitHub is my main way to stay connected with people. In fact, that's how I watched somebody that I helped mentor commit, and I was like, oh, hey, he committed. That's cool, you know. And when he came to me, he didn't know what Linux was. Never heard the word. Now he's committing to GitHub. So it was super fun to see. Okay. I keep reading here. I didn't really answer that one because I'm bad at it. Don't ask me. Somebody else. Lived like a day ago. Funny thing is, Apple believed so too when I submitted my app to the App Store. Until I pointed out that we weren't, then they listed Iraq in the country. Oh, wow. This is how I got your current job. People are 1,000% better than LinkedIn. Oh yes, Ivory Jam. GoJob offers always ask for at least 3 years of experience with other languages, such as Java, which I hate, and I have just one with Node and TypeScript. What do you think is the best way to get a GoJob? Write a lot of Go. I'm gonna. You already asked that, but write a lot of Go. Just write a lot of Go code. Write Go code to do whatever you want. Find something that you want to make and write it in Go. Jump on an open source project and start contributing to the Go project there. That's it. That's the answer. I never. By the way, those things that they ask for when they say 3+ years experience, they never actually mean that. Very rarely. If you think you're good for the job and you're qualified, now I'm not talking about spamming resumes. Don't you dare do that. I'm talking about nobody ever meets the qualifications on the job tag. So if you have a couple key things and you want to get a conversation and go do that, but you should know how to code, right? And I've very suggested to do 1 year, but I really hate Java. Then code in something else. Code in Python or TypeScript. There's a lot of commonality between TypeScript and Go, believe it or not. There's a lot of TypeScript people that are cross-pollinating with Go these days because TypeScript has become, overwhelmingly the industry has decided that strictly typed languages are the way to go. And I think Guido was really the nail in the coffin on that when he said, we have learned through sad experience that languages that are not strictly typed for larger projects are a bad idea. I'm paraphrasing, and it's true. And Go can be written as fast as Python, but is strictly typed, and Python will never be strictly typed. They're trying to add it. But it's too late, right? And Go's already launched way ahead of Python, and for most of the strict type stuff, the big stuff. And TypeScript is really right there in the running because of all the JavaScript stuff. But even that is. If you've already got TypeScript experience, I would stay with Node and TypeScript, and I would stick with that instead of Java, and then I would learn Go on top of that. Take some of those projects in TypeScript and convert them over to Go. That's my suggestion on that. If you're going to do Node, though, I'm just going to say right now, I did Node for a small time. I actually did Node until TJ, who made Express, and a bunch of other things, Jade and all that, left Node community for Go in 2014. He wrote Farewell to Go, and that's when I came to Go when he did. I was like really big into Node until he opened my eyes. It was the first time I ever heard of the language. I started writing it in 2014, the same time as him. We started Apex, and never looked back, and I'm really glad I did. And so if I were you, I would stick with TypeScript And there was a comment on one of the Go Time podcasts recently about this guy he was just like shuddering at the thought of writing vanilla JavaScript these days for anything of significant size, because it's a disaster. I mean, come on, let's just admit it. It's a disaster. The typing in JavaScript is, unless you're just writing some one-off quick little script or something, or you're just doing some cheesy little thing, but for any significant project, you should be writing it in TypeScript. I mean, the industry really solidly agrees on this now. That's not like, some kind of opinion. That's where it's at. And the reason TypeScript is won solidly is because of typing, strict typing. And Go brings that to the table already. So anyway, hopefully that'll help. What else we got? I had a math and science teacher who ran a MUD, did all of the lore and stories for a bit. He became one of the head writers for WoW. Yeah. I'm glad you said that. That's an old comment related to some of the old stuff. RPG Maker, yeah. How's it going? I'm doing great. Before 141 says, actually, let me go back here, so I can read you guys live again. It's good to know that you don't know how to run containers properly. Otherwise, it's overpriced. So what are we talking about? Would HTML, CSS be good for a first-time person to land a job with? Yes, it can be, but it's not going to be the job you think. Yeah, if they can't. They never can. They got to have backward compatibility. TypeScript's the best language I've ever. I love TypeScript, just so good. I agree with you on this. HTML and CSS will definitely be the first thing. So HTML, Danny Boy, make sure you learn HTML and CSS. Let me copy this for you. I definitely agree that you need to learn it. It's kind of like assumed that you know it these days, everywhere, no matter how serious your job is in other areas. So yeah, the answer is yes. I do think you should learn a little bit of JavaScript. I don't think the job you get with a little bit of HTML and CSS is going to pay more than a school teacher. And that's sad to say in America, unfortunately. But it will open the doors, right? And you'll be able to do some things eventually. If you are a designer, if you like art and design and you like to lay out pages and stuff, there are many, many people. In fact, here, let me show you. So let me give you a perfect example. Chris Coyer. I love Chris. Chris is one of the best examples. He's the one, he runs so many other things. Oh, wow. You know what? That's my problem because of dark mode. Yeah. So, Chris is, has done a lot of things. He's made many sites and stuff. He's made, but the reason I'm bringing him up, him and Jen, I forget her last name. There are many, many people in the design community who have gotten jobs from nothing but HTML and CSS. Nothing but HTML and CSS. This is getting a lot more rare now, but CodePen. So he made CodePen. So this is something that he made to show off stuff that's mostly, CodePen is full of stuff that brags about the fact that it has no JavaScript in it. There is an entire segment of the web development community that is proud they have no JavaScript in anything. They hate it. And they've been around, they're not as vocal as they used to be, but if you go through CodePen and just like look around, and you can see the like kick butt amazing stuff that is in here that has been done by designers who are more focused on those things. And they don't particularly find interest in JavaScript or any of the other sort of React sort of things. You can't get away from that these days. There's a lot of people who like CSS, HTML, and if they do JavaScript, they tend to like Vue or Svelte or something like that. Or Vue. Vue is progressive, so if you're gonna get into it, go it that way. I'm not a web developer though. I was Nike's webmaster, but it was a long time ago, and so I would just say that would be my take on that. So yeah. I've been converting my Python to Go. It's amazing. Writing speed is the same. Execution speed is just amazing. Ivory Jam. That's really great to hear. That's the kind of, stuff I want to hear people say. They look at Go at first and they think, oh, there's no way I can write this as fast as Python. I disagree. I think Python, in fact, at this point, I think I can write Go faster than Python, particularly because there's synonymous functions and concurrency primitives that can be done so easily in Go. The first time you try to, the first time I tried to consider teaching Go to a beginner was somebody who was doing a story game as a college student, and she wanted to do Wandering Monsters in Python. And so we had to wade in to, the KM project. We'll talk about that. Maybe I'll work on that this weekend a little bit. So the Python stuff, there was like no less than 5 ways to do concurrency, right? There's like real threads, processes, and all that stuff. And all of them sucked. I mean, they suck. They're just bad. They're just complicated. They're not easy. You know how you do concurrency in Go? Put the word Go in front of a function. The end. When you call it. And now you can have a Wandering Monsters loop completely independent of your main program. So that's my take on that. I really strongly believe that Go and Python can be written in the same amount of time, and that you get so much more with Go for all the right reasons, and I'll let you research all of those. But most importantly, a single binary that can travel anywhere instantly. So including, you can actually bundle resources with it now in 1.16 if you want. Same job with IT and CSS, yes. How is my KM project going? So let me actually answer that one officially. How is the knowledge net KN? It's actually a knowledge exchange grid these days. The KEG project. Yeah. So how's going? This is taking a back seat because I have a full-time job. Bottom line, I don't like that is the fact. It just is. And so I can't do it. So what I have been doing instead, I do have a Zettelkasten approach on GitHub. I've been putting all of my knowledge on my own, KEG node inside of a Zettelkasten. So the Zettelkasten stuff has kind of fulfilled the need for me to manage my knowledge. What is Zettelkasten? That's a separate question, but and so that's where it's at. There's a number of things that are layered on top of each other. So I have the command box project, which is really cool, and I won't get into it, but it's a way to make commanders that are completable, that have importable components and modular command modules and everything. And that's how I'm going to make commands out of that. It makes me really able to make composite commands quickly and much more effectively and better than Cobra or any of the other stuff that's out there right now. And so that has to have to be finished first. And a part of that was writing documentation that's built into the command. And that documentation format is I'm using called command box doc. And that command box doc is a sort of a subset of Markdown. Really, it's GoDoc with a little bit of Markdown. And so that is triggered by interest in the Pagan project again, pagan.dev, pegn.dev, which is my own meta language built on Brian Ford's Peg grammar originally, which has taken new life, and you'll see me coding on that this week. And that involves writing a parser, a functional parser for that, so that I can write the grammar specification for command box doc, and then use the Pagan library in Go to parse that up and use it reliably and reuse it. And all of those pieces will then be added to KEG, the command, and KN, the command for my own knowledge management. I'm not sure whether it's going to be KNZ or it's going to be Z on top. The multi-call ability of the command box binaries that's built into it now is got me like thinking about all kinds of possibilities. So I could build, for example, the Pomo timer. I can build Zettelkasten. I can build K. I can build them all into a single multi-call with command box, and then just create symlinks to them or hard links. And each one of them is all pointing to the same binary, which then could be put into a from scratch container. So all of this has come to fruition sort of after Knowledge Exchange Grid, which I worked on heavily last summer, and that's where Pagan actually came from. I was writing my own Pandoc Markdown parser because I was unsatisfied with the AST that comes out of the Pandoc project, which is ugly sin. And so I wanted to make a new one. So that's back to Pagan. So they're all related. So I haven't given up on it, but I have a lot to do. I mean, I've still got to maintain this full-time job, learning Kubernetes from scratch. I feel like I'm just barely getting my legs under me now, finally. After 3 months or so doing Kubernetes, but I didn't know any of it. I had never written a Docker file 3 months ago. So I have a lot of that pulling at my time. But to those of you that are out there that wanted to join AFK Works, which is the Association for Federated Knowledge Workers, which I actually did want to have conferences on this. I was a big movement to rethink the internet, and in terms of just exchanging knowledge through markdown files and subscribing to each other. And I want to do all of that. I want to do it. If I die without doing it, I will be sad. So people ask, well, what do you, there's so many things that I have to work on. But right now it's more about a matter of having one thing stack on top of another. And right now it's really important that I get command box perfect and that I get the peg parser perfect. And I want to have code generation for Pagan too. So my two top personal priorities on my, outside of work are command box right now, and learning Kubernetes, of course, but they're this stream, the beginner boost. That's the number one priority. Then there's the command box project, which you'll see me coding on this weekend, and then there's the Pagan parser project, right? And on top of all of that, I want to write a whole series of stuff for Go developers as well. Particularly now that generics are coming out, I think it's going to be a good time to start writing content that has generics in it now that the generic spec has been locked down. And so I've been toying with that, which is just going to further put off, the Knowledge Exchange Grid work. There's just so much work to do. People who tell me they're bored or they don't have anything to work on, just come talk to me, please. There's just so many individual little projects, little corners of things that we could, carve off a bit of work and help me or anyone. And there's just so many things to do. And if any of this interests you at all, let's put our minds together and make it happen. God knows we need something better than the internet we have right now. It's just totally broken. All right. It's good to see you too, Cybertech Vibes. My question is the role of Linux in blockchain industry. If you leave before reading my question, I'll be sad. Where is your question? How we got 15 minutes. We should remove the should person JavaScript to be perfect. Yeah, Go puts types before var names just like TSS. Does it? Yeah. I didn't know that TypeScript did that. I hadn't looked at it. First chat video, we got your question, Danny. Did you put it in AMA? Oh, you know what? There's one question in AMA I got to go answer. How do I recommend? Yeah. I actually have to go open Discord because I put somebody off and I promised them I would answer the question. I don't want to let them, and it was a very important question. It's going to take all 10 minutes. I might have to go over a little bit. So let me see if I can find this. Got it. New custom stickers. What the heck? Let's see. Labs, AMAs. Okay. Oh boy. All right, so I'm gonna answer some of the Discord questions for the last 15 minutes. If I haven't gotten to your question, I'm sorry. I'm gonna try to do my best. Do you think anything will replace the shell? No. That's an easy one. No. The shell. That's an easy one. No. Bash is the one to learn. POSIX. Learn POSIX first, then learn Bash. If you want another Z shell and any of that other craziness, fine. Just don't ever code in it. Okay, so here's a question. This is an important one. What was your motivation for learning foreign languages like Russian and French? How did you manage to get fluent on those languages? Well, actually, that's not the one I thought it was. I thought that was... what was your motivation for learning languages? Okay, I can answer that fast. So, in case you don't know, This isn't a flex. I just letting you know. I speak French and Russian and Creole and English languages. The reason I learned foreign languages is because first of all, I went on a mission. I was Mormon. Mormons believe heavily in, colonizing the world and turning them all into Mormons. And I'm not Mormon anymore, if you can't tell. And so that was a big part of my upbringing. And I went on a mission. I was asked to serve a mission in France. I got like a B or a C in my French class. Mrs. Wong, if you're out there, I'm so sorry. And then I went to France. They sent me to the French Caribbean. I didn't get to pick. I had to pay for it and everything. And I served a mission there, and I learned French in the mission field. And I learned, it's kind of like the Département d'Outre-mer in Martinique and Guadeloupe are part of France as much as Hawaii is a part of America. And so I learned that. I learned Caribbean Creole, met Rastas, talked to many people, baptized a few people, and came back and then just loved the languages. And BYU, Brigham Young University in Provo, Utah, to this day is still one of the world's greatest foreign language universities. It's world renowned because of its missionary program. And it's got Mormons are really dedicated to education and learning and everything. The guy who made React, by the way, is Mormon. And so that was what was up. And I just really, really loved it. At the same time I came back, the wall fell while I was in school. I was getting French credit. They give you, this is a really great thing. You go to BYU, they give you 17 credit hours of credit for taking one test for missionaries. If you're a returning missionary, they give you credit for language credit. 17 credit hours. So those, 18 years from 19 and 20 that you missed while you were away on a mission, they actually give you a lot of credit to help you along. And I got that. So I was pursuing a French major for a long time. A lot of returning missionaries get degrees in languages because of that, because they fall in love with the cultures and the countries that they went to, and that's what happened. For me, I absolutely, to this day, I have a deep love for the people of the Caribbean that I was with, and then I got to meet all shapes and sizes and colors and everybody. The really great thing about the Caribbean is what a total true melting pot it is. It's got all different races, and they're just all there. And it was just, I really miss it. Actually, I'm gonna put some Zouk music on later just to make myself feel good again. And so, yeah, that idea of connecting. But while I was in college, I changed my major like 4 times. I went from French, then I was into computers. So I went to computer science, did CS 101 in Pascal, and hated it. And while I was there, the wall fell in Germany. And when that happened, the whole world was on fire, and I changed my major to Russian at that time and decided that I wanted to go work and live in Russia at some point and get to know the people in Russia, because I had been afraid of Russians my whole life. Been raised that. If anybody Gen Xers out there, you know what I'm talking about. We were raised to watch the Terminator, see people get evaporated in nuclear holocaust and stuff like that. We were terrified of the Russians our whole life. And so all of a sudden everything changed overnight. There's a really great song called Right Here, Right Now that captures that whole moment. It kind of gets my emotions going just thinking about it, because the whole world changed in that moment. It was a very joyous time. It was kind of an accident, actually, now looking back. And so anyway, I ended up changing my major and went on to work as a cruise director and a bunch of other things. And so that's what motivated me to learn. The thing that motivated me to learn a foreign language is connecting with people. There's nothing like speaking the language of another person to them, or at least attempting to do it. There's just something super special about doing that. Instead of expecting the whole world to speak English, there's something very, very special about having a connection with someone and understanding what they're saying in their language. When you hear someone who doesn't speak English try to speak English, you kind of immediately associate them. You don't mean to, but you associate them with a less than. Their person is like a child or something, because they're speaking kind of like a child in broken English, right? One case of that is like, there was this he must have been a grandmaster, but he was a science professor and chess player and everything. He was on the ship with us, and his English was very, very good, but it was still sort of broken and stuff. But when I heard him speak Russian and play chess and destroy me, and you really you don't know people until you can understand what they're saying in their language. And when you do that, then you can go, oh my God, you can hear the intonation. They have a different way of talking. They're talking more confidently. And so you really can't meet someone until you know how to speak or at least understand their language. And that was truly my motivation. My motivation was to connect with the world, and I did. I spent most of my life after I graduated for the first couple of years until my wife told me she wasn't going to live in Russia anymore, and I had to change jobs. It's the biggest fight I ever had in early. And I should have divorced her right there, to tell you the truth. I'm glad I didn't, because I got great kids out of it, but I should have, because she didn't want anything to do with what I dedicated my life to do. So, anyway, so that's why I like people. I like connecting with people at some level, and I really, 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 really love to travel. And I'm stuck in front of a freaking computer screen all day. Don't be me. And then any heated responses to that I should read? I'm a little bit afraid to go look. With motivation, also because you love the language, yeah. Versus we don't like. This is true. All right, so I'm gonna keep going here. We got a few more minutes. How can I start to learn cybersecurity? Oh, God, that's a tough question. Learn Linux. Honestly, your first step to learning cybersecurity is learning Linux in the terminal, if you ask me. So it depends on what you want to do. Linux, the security is such a big thing, right? So, oopsie, I did it again. First of all, I am not a cybersecurity person. I like hacking, but I don't do it officially. How can I start learning cybersecurity? I'll tell you one thing. Don't spend a lot of money. There's a lot of people out there in YouTube and Twitch land that'll tell you got to go to this training, got to get this certificate. Do you think any of the best world cybersecurity experts did any of those things? No, they didn't. You don't need all that stuff. And they'll tell you need it because you need to prove this and such. And I actually thought about getting OSCP because it seemed like it had the most clout. If you want to learn cybersecurity and you want to work for the government or a police agency or something like that, then they have requirements that you have to have. If you want to learn how to hack, you don't need any of that. You just need to learn. You need to learn how to learn. You need to learn how to do the research. You need to rip stuff apart. You need to look at the guts of code. You need to learn how to use the terminal. You need to learn how to do forensic stuff. You need to learn to code in C and Go. Go is a 2,000% increase in Go malware. Like go read I made a video on that. So you need to learn. So Go is a big one. Go, C, Bash, Terminal, PowerShell. If you're going to own websites, people call owning, websites hacking, fine. If you think owning a website and breaking in through the website is hacking, and almost everybody does, that's what they call pen testing, then you got to learn a lot of JavaScript and SQL and all that stuff. There's just a bunch of stuff. When I think about hacking, though, I think about like forensics and low-level stuff and like writing malware or like writing, or analyzing code for memory overflows with, fuzzing it and stuff like that. So if you want to learn cybersecurity, learn how to learn, and just start hacking on stuff. Mostly Linux, though, is going to make you a better person. And I say learn to code. There's a lot of people doing pen testing now that are proud of not learning any coding, and I'm like, fine. It's languages. What will replace HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and Spring Framework? I didn't know Spring Framework was still a thing. Do people still use that? I don't know. I didn't know that was still a thing. I'm still not seeing this question that I really want to answer, because it was somebody who, I think it was about motivation, right? I don't think anything's going to replace HTML and CSS and JavaScript, tell you the truth. I think the best chance of getting a replacement is going to be this WebAssembly stuff, but I think, unfortunately, the WebAssembly stuff is going to send the entire world into a pseudo-Flash, post-Flash era where everything is incompatible with itself. And that's what I think. Spring Framework, if I understand it correctly, is yet another server-driven thing, kind of like Rails and PHP and everything like that. My opinion doesn't matter on that, because the reality is that PHP and those kind of frameworks are going to be around for a long time.
my personal opinion on the best possible web application is a Go backend in a from scratch container that's talking to a database or to a microservice through gRPC and is emitting an API, a REST or GraphQL API, and a front end that is written entirely in whatever platform you want, Vue, Vanilla, React, that has no association with the backend. That is my personal take on the most modern approach to web development. And it's starting to manifest itself more and more and more. In fact, we're starting to see people writing TypeScript Node backends, and then those things are just one hop away from doing it in Go. But they're keeping it in TypeScript because they want to run their front end, they run their full stack, then run the front end in JavaScript, right? Decoupling the backend, just look at GitHub. GitHub is an entire API. Kubernetes is an entire API. And all the stuff that runs on the front is just whatever. You can do a command line front end to it. You can do a web front end. You can do another Java IDE front end. You can do an Android app. Whatever. It doesn't matter. That's modern web development, in my opinion. And if you're not doing that, you're doing it wrong. Because all of these like tight couplings to a server, no, that's going away because it's not going to support scale. Sometimes you can get stuff up faster with Rails and things like that. And a lot of people love that. PHP is still around. It's not going anywhere. And there's going to be tons of people using PHP just because of the economy around it. But it's still not the best architecture. The architecture of PHP is abysmally bad because PHP doesn't scale. Not everybody can like rewrite all of PHP and different segments of it in C like Facebook does. So that's my take on that. And this is the methods of learning languages in general, no matter what language it is. The best way to learn a foreign language is to go there. And I'm not lying. Get over your fear. Get over your COVID. Pull up stakes. Find an opportunity to work in a service industry someplace and go live in the foreign country. You can probably find a pocket. I did not go. I actually found some native Russian speakers and we got an apartment together in America. And I lived with them and we just spoke Russian while we were there. And the best way to learn a foreign language is the same way a child does. Immerse yourself in it and don't come up for air. If you try to come up, you're just going to screw it up because you're going to like, that's the best way to learn a language. And then, yeah, books and everything, fine, but when you learn what the word for apple is, don't translate it in your head. That's that whole Rosetta Stone approach, right? Kids do not learn, oh, that's apple in English, but it's pomme in French. They look at a red thing that's fruity and that you can take a bite out of it and they go pomme. And they visually associate that. Learn the things directly. This is why people that truly learn languages can't recall English words for things in the foreign language. When they really get immersed into it, they when they look at a thing like a fork, they see a fourchette. They don't see a fork. And so that only happens through immersion. If you try to go through the cognitive overhead of learning all the translation steps, no, forget it. You'll never become fluent. And you need to be around fluent speakers, not Americans or whatever, because they will be the ones that'll get you the accents. They'll get you the subtle angle. Frankly, there's a lot of live streamers that do this. You can go into, I know people that when I was in Second Life, we would go to France, literally France, and we would chat in voice. So this whole virtual chat, my God, the potential to learn languages over virtual chat is just astounding. Watch movies that are in the language with subtitles, all of those things. There are all ways to learn a language if you really want to learn it. And it takes time. It's going to take you a while before you can learn all those things. You know what I mean? All right. So we're getting very close to being done here. There is a big one that I'm going to end on. I'm going to have to skip all these other ones. I'm sorry. Exposure with a team project. Yeah, there's a lot of people who might be able to help you with team projects. Hack the Box is a learning tool. I think Hack the Box is a fantastic learning tool. I do. I really do. I answered that one. So Hack the Box is my favorite learning tool. Try Hack Me kind of rubbed me the wrong way at first because it had bad info in it, but I think it's too good too. Thoughts on hack the box as a learning tool. I think having challenge-based learning, the only problem with hack the box and things like it is they're not repetitive. So the reason they call them exercises is because you need the repetition. Повторение мать учения, they say in Russia. Repetition is the mother of learning. You cannot build new neural pathways unless you repeat things. So if you're going to do a hack the box, hack that one thing like 10 times in a row, doing the same exact thing. Because that'll help you burn the neural pathways and start to learn the patterns to the point where it's second nature to you. If you're not doing that, you're not learning it. The biggest problem with Free Code Camp that I experienced with people going through it is it's this challenge-based learning, but they don't repeat. So they learn a thing to get to the next thing and they think they know it. They get their certificate, they go their merry way, and they can't do anything because they don't remember any of it because none of it's been committed to memory because they haven't been repeating it. So the one way for you this is why I insist on coding Go every week. I don't care how late my deadlines are at work and stuff like that. I refuse to not code Go on the weekend. And I'm just putting my foot down because if I don't, I will lose it. If you don't use it, you will lose it. And so you've got to keep those things fresh, whatever those things are that you want to keep fresh, even if they're not what you're getting paid for every day. So yeah. So let's let me go. Microservices will grow in the future. That's nice. I'm glad to hear that, DePaula. How do you best deal with toxic coworkers? Ignore them. If you're in a high, just leave. Honestly, it's not worth it. I'm going to keep going a little bit here. I apologize, guys. How to deal with, just leave. Seriously. How do you, best deal with toxic workers? So first of all, you have to figure out how you got yourself in the thing. So if you have a toxic, you got to define what toxic is, right? Do they disagree with you? That's not toxic. Do they tell you you're a moron because you put NeoVim on a production system? That's not toxic. Okay. If someone's tough on you, that doesn't mean they're toxic. First of all, right? It's particularly in the military. Oh my God. Right. But you got to be able to separate that out. You got to be able to know if you don't want to be around it, just leave. You're a free agent. You can go wherever you want. Don't be afraid. You can leave and go do something else. It's this fear of scarcity or that you're going to fall out of the frying pan into the fire that makes you stay. Ask yourself, why am I staying here? Right. And get over it. Just get over it. I know that sounds really harsh to say, but it's true. And I've done it. I wouldn't say it unless I didn't. I quit a job because the first time my boss at the time just had no intention of understanding where I was coming from on a thing. And it was telling me I was boiling the water, even though I was making the company better for it. And I wasn't even doing it in a mean way. The first time that happened, I silently made a list on my own about all the things I needed to learn so that I could leave. And I left. Eventually I left, started my own company. So look, just be prepared and have the skills, and then you just can go wherever you need to do. You might want to approach some of your coworkers. They might not know they're being toxic. You might want to say, well, why are you that way? I've been accused of being an unhinged, toxic guy so many times since I started streaming that I just don't care. I don't care. It's like, calling people out for doing things that are bad for the world, that's part of who you are, and you have to be able to say that. If that makes somebody angry and that creates a hostile work environment, get the fuck out. Go do something else, because they're not going to change the way that they look at you. And that's, unfortunately, I hate to say it that way, but that's the truth. This idea that everything's just going to go away and they're all going to get better and you just have to let it overblown. By the way, same thing for professional, personal relationships. If you continue to have this grating feeling, if you're constantly feeling like you're someone stepping on your chest, you have to take control of that situation and leave it. And it's going to be hard, but you need to do it. And too many people don't, because they feel like for whatever reason they can't do that. They're I'm families are forever. I cannot possibly get divorced. All right. I left my family in the worst possible way because I was doing that. If I had had the courage to leave my marriage the way I wanted to on my terms, without cheating on my wife with someone who I fell in love with and forcing the issue because I was a fucking coward. Sorry, I'm swearing, but if I had had the courage to leave that relationship the proper way, and face the emotions that were going to be involved with it, I think everybody would have been better off, and I would probably be a much better person because of it. But I didn't. I was too afraid, and so I just let it kind of do its thing. God help you if you are in one of these relationships at work, or you're in one of these relationships in your personal life, and you let it go on for 10 or 20 years. Oh, we're just doing it for the kids. The kids are going to see that you guys don't belong together, and it's just going to be bad. Or the people you work with are going to see it's toxic. And you sometimes you have to kick the person out. The most gruesome work ordeal I ever went through was trying to get this absolutely unproductive, problematic person on our team off the team. And the whole team needed to get him off just for us to progress. And it ripped me apart because he was a friend. So I don't know. I'm not the best person to go to on that stuff. I'm not. So I'm going to move on. So let's see. Everyone should know Docker containers. Absolutely. What are the levels of knowledge in this field, Docker, in the rigid technical fields? Can you say you should be able to make Local Padre? You should be able to make a Docker container and publish it to Docker Hub. Boom. I think that's minimum. Yeah, that's the minimum. Is there a possibility? Let's see. I'm gonna keep going. I don't know how many of these I can ask. What is the minimum? I'm paraphrasing. Minimum Docker, you guys probably already gone, right? Minimum Docker / container knowledge. I think I didn't used to think this, but after this year, oh my God, if you don't know how to do a Docker, I don't know what I was thinking. I should have learned it a long time ago. Interested for companies. I do not write all my skills on my CV where I had some dabbling time. I would. That I am somewhat experienced by comparison. Yes. Man, yeah, that's a lot. You got a lot there for me to answer there, Mr. Local Padre. I'm going to go find my other question that I really, really need to answer. Lots of text editor questions. I ruled out basic relativity. Okay, so here it is. And this I'm going to end on this question. There's a number of other questions I didn't get to. I'll try to get to them. And the question, this came in today during the day while I was writing and coding. How did you find purpose and know what to dedicate your life to? That's a dangling proposition, but we'll let it go. And I'm an old guy. I'm grumpy. I yell at stuff, usually not clouds. It doesn't make any sense to yell at a cloud. Why would you yell at a cloud? I mean, I'll yell at lots of other stuff, but not the cloud. Old man shouts at cloud. No, old man shouts at everything around him. Honestly, so somebody asked this question. I think it was out of sincere desire. We've had a number of people come and wander in the Twitch stream who I sense are struggling with purpose and meaning and depression. And I don't want to let this one go. So I'm going to answer it. I'm 10 minutes over. So, but I was a little bit late getting started. So, it's fine. And I'm going to try to answer this as succinctly as I can, but it is a very, very personal thing. So, and I gotta tell you, there've been many, many times. Actually, I'm gonna make a reference to pop culture. I've been watching Loki, right? And there's a moment in the Loki thing where, well, I won't give it as a spoiler, but there's a moment where one of the characters realizes that they've been dedicating their life to the wrong thing, all of their life, but in this case, it was like hundreds of years, right? So the only way I can answer this question is to say that I am still figuring it out. First of all, the first answer, best possible, honest answer I can give you is I am constantly asking myself this question all the time. And personally, I feel like as soon as you stop asking yourself the question, what is my life for? The question really is, who am I? What do I want to be? What is my, there's this moment, Robin Williams says these words, in Dead Poet Society, short is your time on the stage. What will your, verse be in the poem of life? And that is such a personal thing. And if I knew the answer, the best thing I can say is you have to be still. And this is one thing that has come to me overwhelmingly. I tend to be a little bit flighty and passionate and angry and happy. I'm all over the place. I've definitely got something in my head. I am definitely unhinged. And I've come to think that you should find a mate that's got the same kind of crazy as you. As long everybody's crazy in some way, so just figure out how your crazy does with their crazy, right? Hopefully it's not a codependent relationship, but a big part of that, I say that because what I'm about to say doesn't seem to make sense based on what you see me doing when I'm here. You need to be quiet. You need to shut up and listen to yourself. You need to find a way to block out all of the input around you and listen and search. If you want to call it prayer, fine. You want to call it meditation, fine. If you want to call it a walk in the park or in the trees, fine. But you've got to find a way for you to quiet all the other voices all around you and just listen. Like really listen. Just listen intently. And it might not happen the first time you try to do it. It might not happen after a year of doing it. But at some point, if you are still and you're quiet, and the thing that's cool about this, Joseph Campbell, notwithstanding, who studied all of these archetypes and practices of a whole world, big Joseph Campbell fan, is the common factor in all of humanity. Everywhere you go, the mystics and the wisdom literature, it's all says the same thing. Be still, know thyself, and in order to know thyself, be still. The word yoga, which means yoke, but it is about chitti vritti nirodha. It means stilling or pausing or slowing down the fluctuations of the mind. And, they talk about the monkey mind. You got all these things going on, right? So whatever it takes for you to slow down, to be still, and to be able to put yourself in a mental state where you're just listening to what's around you, with your heart and, your senses and everything. So, and you'll find out what it is. You'll find it out. So the thing is funny too, is it's like, and maybe, I know this is going to sound really counterintuitive, but stop looking. Stop looking. Stop seeking. My mom used to call me a seeker all the time. And I'm like, I found my wife when I stopped. When I had decided that I was content to be with, my children, and it was on January 1st, 2000, whatever. And I was fine. That was when, the really amazing thing happened. And it's a story I don't want to tell right now. It's pretty close to my heart. But it led to me marrying this woman, and crazy, crazy story. But I had stopped looking. I felt legitimately no fear, and that I was going to move forward. And I felt a desire to just move forward and do the best thing. And then it would happen. And that was when it came. And that was when I found her. I think that happens with a lot of things in life. Best job I ever had at IBM, same thing. I had accepted my fate. I said, okay, I'm fine day to day. I can be okay here. And I did these things. Now I still had aspirations and stuff, and I was still working on the side toward learning more and thing. But it was when I accepted where I was, instead of being annoyed with it or constantly seeking something other, that the opportunity happened. So I think that if we're calm, that you'll find your purpose. You will. You'll find it. And it doesn't necessarily have to mean that you're not moving or that you're even in a quiet place. You may find your purpose while you're in, I don't know. We used to go to it was a women and children's shelter, and I would go there and I would work and just focus on that work. And there was a lot of things that happened while I was there that led me to where I am now, including meeting one of the most amazing women I've ever dated, who directly led me to the woman I'm currently married to. So just, do that. I tell you what though, I mean, it's really hard to get frustrated because I'm like flipping through like I got a smartphone back again. So I'm like looking through different things and I'm like, what? And I see all the noise out there and all the influencers and all the jazz like that. And I'm like, this is just not good for humanity. I mean, some of it's good because it's new information, right? So, but it's this idea that you have to be what all these other people are. You got to be who you are, and you have to figure out who that is. It's a really lame book, but it does talk about some of these concepts. It's called Conversations with God. It's written by this like really hippie boomer, but it is interesting because it does touch on some of these topics. Truth is, you can find these ideas all over the place. These ideas are written in so many different ways, and frankly, they're even in some Marvel movies. This idea of who am I? What am I going to be defined as? What's going to be on my tombstone? So, so that's the last thing I want to say about that. So the first answer to that is just be still and listen, and you'll find something, without looking for it. Right. And the second thing is, take stock of the things that you enjoy doing. So I cannot tell you how many times just writing down all the things that you're grateful for on a piece of paper. I know it's a stupid exercise, but do it anyway. You take a piece of paper and write down all the things you're grateful for, and write down the things you're grateful for, and write down the things that you enjoy doing, sort of in the same sense. I really enjoy live streaming with these crazy people who are all trying to figure this out just like me. I really love that. I really, really love my wife's spaghetti. Got to heat it back up, but I really love it. I really love speaking foreign languages with people. I like connecting with people from other countries. Some people hate that. I really like that sound a person makes when they learn something. Oh, aha! I want a mantra. I want to like a blooper reel of all of the learning moments that I've ever experienced with someone. And I love that. And that means working with children fine. Now, if you don't, also write what you don't like. So I've talked about this before, but my son Ben, he's a fantastic teacher, but he realized at one point, he goes, I just don't like it. I would rather not be around children teaching them. You might not like kids. That's totally fine. Don't feel guilty. Just own what you like and what you don't like. Write it down. Right? So, I don't like sitting in front of a terminal all day. Make sure you write that one down. I wish I'd written that one down earlier. I might have ended up doing something that's not in front of a camera or in front of a terminal. It would have been outside someplace. But by writing what you're grateful for and the activities you enjoy, not I want to be a coder, right? Maybe something like, I really love typing stuff onto the terminal and seeing magic happen. That's sort of coding, but not always, right? I really like terminal interactions. I like typing, period. I just really, really love it. I love moving my fingers really fast on the keyboard. I like the sensation of it. Some people like mechanical keyboards. I don't, but whatever. I like music. I love listening to music. So when you start writing down what you're thankful for and what you've, the things that you enjoy and you're quiet, I think you'll find what your purpose is, what your mantra is, and why you're here, at least why you want to be here. There's a scene from How I Met Your Mother. It's the naked cello guy, if you've ever seen it. And the mother, it's the only episode where it's actually the mother who's in it. And she asks, I just don't know what to do with my life. And he says, well, what have you always wanted to do? He says, well, she goes, I really want to end world poverty. He goes, okay, now make sure every thought and action is in the service of that from now on. That's it. So, and she did. She started a band, and her band was The Economists, and it was raising money for different things. So every single activity she did after that was linked directly to this life goal of hers to do this. Now, if you want to change your life goal, fine. Baz Luhrmann says some of the most interesting 40-year-olds still don't know what they want to be. You just might not know what it is that you're going to do, and you can change your purpose. You might think that, I mean, I thought that I was going to help save the world as a Mormon, right? It turned out I was dead wrong on most of that stuff, but I learned a lot along the way, and that a lot of that stuff ended up playing into what I ultimately wanted to do with my life, which is just help people. Bottom line, the thing that drives me is helping people. That I think the reason for life is to reduce suffering and to cause humanity to progress. That's my take on why we're here. And based on that, I feel like anything that's serving that purpose matters more than stuff that does not. But it's different. I mean, God, you go on Twitter or the internet and you can see all kinds of people who disagree with that. They live their lives for completely different reasons. Do I have children? I do. I have 4 children that I was unfortunately unable to see for their entire teenage years because of my divorce. And my ex-wife would tell me, I talk about getting over scripts. I can hear my ex-wife in my head constantly. I can hear her nagging and the things that she would say, and all the time. And one of the greatest challenges in my life is just banishing all of those thoughts that have just seeped into my mind from her. And one of them is, she was saying, oh yeah, well, you could have seen him anytime, blah, blah, blah. No, it wasn't that easy. And my children get it. They understand it. My sons get it, but I don't recognize them. They sent me my youngest sent me a Jack Johnson song that he learned that I used to play for him while I was with us, and I was bawling my eyes out because I didn't realize he was listening, during that time when I was last with him. Shit's gonna happen, and you're just gonna have to deal with it. And so yeah, I do have children, but I don't get to see them. Yeah, I don't get to see them very much. And you know what? I don't regret it because, I mean, I regret it, but I also don't regret it. It's like if I sit here wallowing away about how I don't get to see my kids all the time, I'm not going to get anything done. You know what I mean? And they give you a Windows computer, exactly. Right. It's funny you'd say that, but it's true, right? Yeah. So that's all I want to say. I guess it's probably time for me to move on and go eat and relax. But so this is the thing. My wife tells me this all the time because I'm just going to say something. If I think too hard, I might, okay, I don't know how to put this. I'm the guy who has gotten used to putting a crusty defensive exterior on. So I'm kind of a softie inside, but if I dwell on what has happened with my children and everything that the Mormons took from me, stole from me, money, time, energy, psychological well-being, everything that they stole from me. If I dwell on it, I collapse in a puddle of goo, almost literally. And I can't think about it. So what do you want to call it, being jaded or not? Or if you dwell on the past too much, you just can't be present in the moment. You can't be here. I can't be streaming. I can't be, going for a walk with our dog. I can't even be present for my son when he came out as being gay later. If I had killed myself when I left the Mormon church, and I thought about it seriously, if I had done that, I would never have been there in order to have my son come stay with us after he came out as being gay. And his mother told him, if you come here, you just can't do any of that gay stuff. If I had given up, I wouldn't have been there. Don't give up. All right, it's time for me to go, I think. But there are lots of ways that you can reconnect with all the people that you feel like you can't stay in contact with. And that goes for my own children. And I'm confident that when the time comes, I mean, they're busy doing their own thing too. That's the other thing. We have this thing that we have to be constantly in contact with them or we're going to feel guilt because we're not, making a connection. Just playing a game of like TF2 made the days go by. Or on October, I still have fond memories of playing TF2 and catching a butcher knife in the face from my kids, because that was what we did because we were remote or whatever. Right. And now we're in Discord and we kind of send messages to each other. Occasionally they'll wander in here to chat. we can't always dwell on all the things that we should be doing to contact everybody all the time. We should just focus on what we're doing at the moment, trying to make the world a better place, and just count, one day at a time. And sure, I'm planning on going out and staying in the area of my sons while they're in college now that they're not under their mother's rule anymore, and I can actually go there and I can spend up to a month working remotely and living and catching up with them. So that's what's up. All right. So, I hope I help somebody, hopefully, I don't know, hopefully people will know. The other thing too, I'm going to tell you, I mean, you heard a little bit of that anger come out of me. One of the reasons that I'm such an angry, unhinged guy is because I am constantly fighting back massive rage at what happened to me in life. And if I didn't have yoga, it would absolutely consume me. If I look back at all the ways that I objectively feel like I was done wrong, like in real, then believe me, I could tell you stuff that would curl your toes, and I just don't want to go there. If I think about all of that, not only would it shut me down, but it would just be impossible to go forward. And I can't do it. But unfortunately that means that, sometimes I get overly passionate about things that don't really matter. And you guys, we all do this, right? We get really angry at our coworker or a family member, and we're like ripping on them, and we're really not mad at them at all. There's like some other thing that's bothering us. And, this is portrayed in fiction all the time. And, you kind of stop. This is why I like yoga and meditation and walking and running a lot. Because speaking of which, I'm going to go do that right now. Yeah, I got to get my 10,000 steps in. I'm going to go watch the sunset. Yep. And just going for that walk and just listening and yes, you can dwell on the past, but always think of it in terms of the future or fondly, and control those thoughts. And sometimes you need chemical addition to help you do that. I currently don't need that. Thank God. Yoga is enough for me, but yeah, I want to put that out there too. So if you are struggling with clinical depression, I know of many people, who, they need help. I know there's veterans out there who need extra help. Don't be, don't feel less of a person for doing that. And also don't get addicted to Oxycontin, no matter what. Oh my God. Poor people. I've seen that take down so many people. On that note, I'm going to go eat my spaghetti and go for a nice walk. I hope you guys have a great Friday night. I'm going to be back coding all week. I'll be doing random different things. I can't really promise what I'm going to be working on. So I do hope that you'll be interested in coming by with me on that. But that's this is it for me on AMA. I'm going to go ahead and post this video to everything else. That's my reminder this time for me to go for my walk, actually. And we'll see you later. Bye. Oh, that spaghetti still smells good. It's been torturing me this whole time.